Marvel and Pfizer team up for COVID-19 vaccine advocacy comics starring the Avengers. It's every bit as disturbing sounding as you can imagine. So what I want you to picture is back in the day, war propaganda comics were very, very common. But there's something just worse. There's something just like I somehow find the military-industrial complex less awful than hearing Pfizer do it. Like, at least the military is like, yeah, we're going overseas to wreak a bunch of havoc and do a bunch of awful things. But these people are like, we're gonna help you be safe and effective right up until the
so insidious.
I think this is a perfect example of if something is free, you are the product.
Yes.
This Marvel comic, Everyday Heroes, is free and accessible on their website. Their other comics, believe it or not, they're not free. You have to buy access to them.
But is it safe and effective? That's what I want to know.
Well, it is. It's extremely safe. In fact, they can't be sued if anything goes wrong with the vaccine.
That's right.
So
I am reassured by that.
They even have a disclaimer at the bottom of the page that says, don't replace your healthcare provider's advice with this comic.
That's fair.
So it's unveiled by a biotech company. By the biotech company, what was the name of the company here? It was BioNTech.
BioNTech.
Oh, we drove by there yesterday.
We did, yeah, we did.
So on October 4th, Avengers Everyday Hero centers on an unnamed family who, while waiting in the waiting room of a COVID-19 vaccination clinic, you couldn't even just send them to their general practitioners. You had to send them to the... I just remember, like, out here driving around, I won't give an exact location, but I remember the first time I saw an actual road sign that said vaccine clinic this way. I literally felt like we had fallen into, like, another timeline.
Yeah, I've seen it
Well,
too.
I remember in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I was at the time, there was, like, these vehicles would drive around the city and they would say, stay inside. It was like a loudspeaker vehicle.
That is so dystopian.
Yeah. It would say, stay inside. Go back in your homes. Do not exit without a mask or breathing device.
It's Australia.
It was terrifying.
So they're in the vaccine clinic and they're waiting to get their boosters, and Ultron attacks. If you've seen, so now you can picture Ultron with James Spader's voice. And Ultron attacks and is wreaking havoc not 6 blocks away as they're waiting for their shots. And upon hearing the news, and this is one of the worst written parts of it, but it says, the Paul Aller penned Paco Diaz illustrated story turns to the family's older son, who finds himself worrying aloud that the AI sentient could pose a threat to their safety. Don't worry, his little sister attempts to reassure him. Captain Marvel will protect us, because, of course, the big brother couldn't reassure the younger sister. The younger sister had to reassure.
She has to be younger, and it has to be a female.
Yes. And yes, Captain Marvel will protect us, she says, by the power of feminism.
I didn't read into it that way.
I absolutely. All those decisions matter. Like when you're storyboarding this out, this is storyboarded the same way they storyboard out movies, which means that was a very deliberate decision. You don't just draw these pictures next to each other and switch the speech bubbles because the angle for which the picture is drawn at is relevant to that.
Yeah.
So no, this was absolutely planned. Do I think that this guy has an agenda? Actually, yeah, probably. He probably does. But that's besides the point. That's not even the important one of this. This is we're not even to the COVID-19 of it all. That's right, exclaimed the grandfather, turning to draw a parallel between Ultron and the COVID-19 virus. Just like the Avengers have done so many times before, Ultron keeps coming back, keeps changing and evolving. So the Avengers keep adapting and re-strategizing, and they knock him back again and again. So they are the booster shots of superheroes. That is what they are.
This is making my brain hurt. Why are you doing this to me,
I
Brett?
apologize.
It's awful.
We haven't even gotten to like the pictures.
No.
Like the pictures, it's like they've got the mask. It's at the clinic.
Just like the floppy fabric masks, too.
The thing here is also, if this had come out in 2020, I would have batted less of an eye.
Right. It'd still be annoying.
It would still be annoying and very propagandistic, but it's very much...
The fact that it's this late in the game does say a lot, but we also don't know how long this was in the planning process. There were like 20 or so people involved, right?
They might have taken Pfizer's money long ago and had to complete it.
That's kind of what it looks like.
This isn't the first time that that Marvel has been commissioned to make a comic about vaccine advocacy.
Nope.
They also did that last year as well.
There's just something to, like, it's the name brand Like if they had just made it themselves and a coalition of companies had done it and you like didn't know which companies were doing it, it's knowing that it's Pfizer. It would be even funnier if they were like, don't get the Moderna shot. And all of the
like an intercivil war between vaccine makers.
The Skrulls
Moderna.
Yeah, the Skrulls have infiltrated Moderna and are poisoning their vaccine. You can only get the Pfizer vaccine if you want to be safe. Like we are from Ultron because of all of the Avengers protecting us. Like that would actually be kind of cool if they threw shade at another pharmaceutical company. I'd actually think that was pretty. That'd be pretty funny.
That would be hilarious.
I hate to be the one to point it out, but of course the patriarch telling them about when Ultron first appeared has to be a different race than the rest of his family.
Yes.
Very interesting that they purposefully added that detail.
They're like overtime virtue signaling with this. This is like blowing my mind.
Says, asked by his grandson, and they use new tools to help. The elderly man makes reference to Vision, noting another robot that first time, and it was working for a while. Remember, the safe and effective has an expiration date.
That's so convenient.
This is what happens when you let the HR people into the writer's room.
Yes.
That's a great point. That's exactly what this is.
As the battle continues to rage on, in an effort to reassure his family, the grandfather continues to regale them with stories of the Avengers' past victories over Ultron, until eventually Iron Man puts an end to the situation with an ionized energy cannon. Yes, but was that safe and effective? I must know.
That might be still a metaphor for the vaccine anyway.
Where do the metaphors end is what I'm curious here.
I didn't hate the part about the grandpa working for the Avengers in the past. That was actually kind of a neat twist. I mean, as neat twists go in propaganda. In propaganda.
Look, standards real low.
Pharma comics.
I'm waiting for the epilogue where they find out that the Avengers were never meant to prevent Ultron from attacking.
They just meant to like keep him
they
at
were
bay
meant
for a little while.
They were meant to minimize the destruction that Ultron is able to wreak upon society.
Maybe Zemo fed him like digital bats.
Did they release a physical copy of this?
Looks like it's only online. You don't have an ability to purchase it on the Marvel website.
So the Avengers return triumphantly from the clash with Ultron, passed by the grandfather's room. Why are they in the hospital? I'm sorry. Why are they returning triumphantly to a COVID-19 vaccination room?
Well, yeah, the panel where they're walking into the double doors with the nurse, it just feels creepy because it's completely dark in there.
Yeah.
And they're all just filing in like cattle.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't love that.
Maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe I'm biased, but they could have done better at making that seem less seedy.
So they mentioned, well, that's like when I see like an individual green road sign that says vaccine clinic this way, and there's nothing else on there and the sign's all muddy. It's like I get like Resident Evil vibes. So it says his family is shocked when he reveals that he was once a member of Damage Control and as such regularly found himself working side by side with the Avengers in the aftermath of their many fights. He says, and that's how I know that we can fight back against even tough, ever-evolving enemies. If we're willing to adapt, fight back, and take steps to help protect yourself.
So go figure, Pfizer is promoting this comic on Twitter, and with all of the negative replies they're receiving, they're choosing to hide them. That feature is such an interesting one on Twitter because
wait, you can do that on Twitter now?
Yeah.
Obviously, people are going to click on the word that says like hidden replies.
That's the first thing I click.
It's such a Streisand effect. I'm surprised that they kept that feature after trying it out
on their social media.
Everyone looks at the hidden replies first.
Right. That's where the juicy stuff is.
Exactly.
If you want to limit conversation, you can limit replies, and then people can't like comment under it. But what happens then is you get a steamroll effect of freaking
it
quote
long.
tweets.
Remember when quote tweets, you weren't able to like click on it and see the quote tweets? Mm-hmm. They just
they added
weren't
that
listed at all.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they added that.
So
they did.
It opens up the conversation a lot more.
I think it's great.
But they're receiving a lot of backlash, obviously.
Good.
I have to show them this picture because it is the most. It's just disgusting to me. Like They're like you see all of their very clear band-aids covering their recent booster shots as the Avengers pose. I don't know why they're posing on a stage. And then Tony Stark says, by staying up to date with COVID-19 vaccinations.
And then he soy faces into the distance.
Dude, he's doing like the pointing
with
soy
a Band-Aid
thing
on his arm.
It's just...
he's very proud of himself.
It's not like propaganda's new to government like infiltrating media.
What I find curious about it is like all of the indoctrinated MCU stans are already vaccinated and boosted anyway. So how is this propaganda going to increase the numbers of boosted patients?
I mean, do they have a cap on how many you can get?
There was one guy who got like 80, which was
no
hilarious.
cap.
No cap.
No cap.
You can just
right?
keep
no
going.
cap.
So
no
just keep
kizzy.
Yeah.
When I've read a couple of
yourself
articles recently that we've covered. One was the Bill Hader one where he wore a mask to an award show.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's immunocompromised.
Sure, fine.
And the comment section was one of the most delusional. Like
I love those places.
It was like
so fun.
IndieWire itself being one of the more delusional of the culture websites.
Yeah.
Like one of them was like, I'm not saying that I want people to die if they don't get their vaccine, but I'm just saying, thin the herd.
Well, the situation with Bill Hader wearing a mask to an award show at this stage in the game, I feel speaks to his character more than anything.
He's
because
immunocompromised, so
but
what is it, a serious thing? Or
I mean,
like
literally anyone can say that. If you
don't
want to put your immune system at risk, then wouldn't you just not go to a large event with hundreds of people?
You would think so.
Who are unmasked, right? It's about posturing, and he was just accused. And indirectly by Anna Kendrick of being an abusive partner.
What?
So of course he's desperate to virtue signal.
Yeah.
And one of the posts under this, like in the I don't remember if it was the Twitter, if it was in the actual comment section. This was a quote picture of a tweet that said like, "Wait, so you're telling me putting our masks on until we sat down at restaurants didn't work?"
Yeah, it did work for sure. Guys, what we're seeing here is not just propaganda, because I was thinking about this over the course of the last 20 seconds. This is the embodiment of a monopoly, because this is the government working with a single company or a series of companies to make sure that something happens. Yeah. And from my understanding of economics, from Henry Hazlitt's Economic in One Lesson, everyone should read it, by the way, is that's how you define a monopoly, which is disturbing. So it's not just propaganda, it's something deeper. It seems to me more insidious than propaganda.
Also, I'm waiting for like Pfizer should just, they've got money, just start their own comic company. Start Pfizer Comics.
Pfizer Comics.
And Pfizer Lifestyle Clothing. And like they should just
I'm sure they could.
It's like when they rebrand like a superhero as a different race or something, or as a different gender. It's like, this is just, get your own comic heroes.
Yeah, it's an interesting
like
development,
right?
Pfizer because superheroes traditionally, at least my impression, is superhero stories have been about overcoming the corruption in the institutions, like law enforcement, like in big science and big pharma, and superseding those institutions to help the common man. Whereas in this story, we're seeing the superheroes in direct collaboration with those institutions toward the same goals. And it's sort of a subversion of the whole genre.
Also, it's really funny. Like one common theme in comics. I mean, it's not spelled out directly that way. Is like it's a lot of like the just because you can doesn't mean you should when it comes to science and technology. Meaning like they make all these developments. Tony Stark had a lot of regret at one point for the military weapons that he built, and a lot of science. I think back to like Silas Stone in DC. Like there is a lot of questioning about just because we can create something doesn't mean we should. And there's absolutely none of that hesitation in something like this, because they're not choosing. It's not an artist choosing what they want to say. It's Pfizer telling them what they have to say because they were paid a certain amount of money to it. So you could say it's late stage capitalism.
No, comics is
good. It's actually, or is this actually no? Because this is government and Pfizer, so technically it's late stage cronyism.
Yeah, exactly. I would say so.
Yeah.
Comics is such a good place for philosophy because you give your characters a chance to reflect on past choices they made, and people like that because they're super into the lore or whatever. awesome, great. I'm not a super comic person, but when you impose something like Pfizer's branding, you lose everything. So this is just more corporatization, which is just so depressing. I'm so done with it.
Also,
if it was generic, that would be different.
Yeah.
It should be pointed out that the people that are reading this are it's not kids that are reading this. There's no kids reading this. It's 35-year-old to 45-year-old and up white dudes.
Prolonged childhood.
It's like the clapter.
No.
Like,
I mean, I guess the target market would be the ever expanding pool of protracted adolescence, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But I guess good comics would be they've spent the last 15 years trying to find their phantom audience, but I don't know who the audience is for.
I mean, do children even read comics anymore?
I don't think
it's kind
they
of a 35-year-old,
nerd. Comics aren't really part of.
I don't know.
The people who are reading this, and it's not convincing anybody that's already convinced.
Anybody who actually picked this up and read it is already getting their vaccination, and more power to them. But it is the weird corporatization, the weird implementation of like very clear, like they're talking in ways the characters would never talk. That's my favorite part. Is like that every word that I read sounded like a CEO said it in a press release, not like an actual human being said it.
It's HR man.
Only one person is credited with writing the script, which I just can't believe. It sounds like it was written in a writer's room of like 10 plus contributors,
or it was ghost written by a PR person at Pfizer, most likely. So that, like, here it says, if you're willing to adapt, fight back, and take steps to help protect yourself, it's also important for entire communities to come together and help fight the threat. That's something a CEO says. That's not something that an actual living, breathing human being says.
That's a PR person or an HR person wrote that.
Exactly. We need more synchronicity.
Thank you.
To accomplish more of our business goals.
I would have imagined that this comic would more synergy.
That's all the business talk. Yeah,
more
there you go. Synergy. Yeah,
like if they said that and then you say, let's just see who you really are, mister, and you pull it off and it's like the Pfizer CEO underneath.
Yeah,
would have gotten away for it.
I got away with it.
It wasn't for you, synergy man.
It wasn't for you, anti-vaxxer.
Okay.
So can we say that? I don't know if you can say that.
Yeah, they're relaxing it a little bit.
Okay.
It's old man anti-vax Johnson.
That's right.
That's
I mean, I'm just more interested in what this means for Marvel and comics in general, because obviously it's no longer part of anyone's childhood anymore. Like, this isn't going to be nostalgic for the children who are growing up today. And then also the adults who look to comics for their entertainment now are getting alienated by the propaganda.
There are young people reading manga.
But I feel that's different because there are more standalone stories and not large franchises with like this multiverse concept.
Propaganda.
If they do, I don't know anything about it.
That's something that like a lot of anime and manga fans say, is that they enjoy that genre simply because, or at least in large part because it's immune from all of the Western propaganda and Western sensibilities.
Not play those games.
At least so far, it's not affected by those things.
Or they have their own brand of propaganda.
Yeah,
they do have propaganda, but it's it's a refreshing change, I'm sure.
A slightly different.
What if it was Thanos who poisoned all of the shots, and that's how he ended up? That's he could have. Everyone who got it, like
half the people that get the vaccine die.
No, all the ones, like the half that went away were the people that ended up getting the.
Don't you think Endgame was kind of unintentionally
profound?
Profound and like insightful about the population control narrative.
People are comparing Thanos to Bill Gates.
That's
in the chat for sure.
Well, in the comics, if I remember correctly, he did it for a female. He did it for Lady Death.
No doubt.
So he was toxic masculinity personified.
Yeah, just look at that.
Trying to impress a woman
without intending it, which is the only way that anything in entertainment is insightful these days. They did shed light on a propaganda that's spread about population control these days.
Maybe it's just by virtue of who they hang out with. So like the story, it came up because they're one of their
because they talk
candlelight
about
universal
killing
world
large
domination.
swaths of people so often.
Yeah. He's like, that gives me a great idea. like
they get into the writer's room.
They were at one of their like taking over the world meetings, with like the perpetually burning flame and the
That's what award shows are.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it really is.
Like the
leaders of the world meeting over champagne,
so
talking about their shared goals.
Yeah.
If you guys want to pick this comic up, I recommend
do it.
Like the sales just go through.
It would be more understandable if they were selling it for a profit, but because it's free on their website, you can tell that
you're the product.
You are the product.
Yeah, good observation.
Simply by clicking.
My favorite comments is the jokes on Pfizer. Nobody reads Marvel comics anymore.
That's just, fair.
That is what it is. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, is this like the worst of all the? Do you remember? Vax that ass up? Anybody?
Yeah,
that was great.
Nobody?
I don't want to remember.
I was just happy.
Can you not make me remember that?
I just reminded you of it.
Juvenile.
Oh yeah, Juvenile. Yeah.
But that was for a dating app. That was for a dating app that they made that. Oh yeah.
What was the dating app called?
I don't remember.
You're a really pretty lady.
This is where you lose with the propagandistic advertisements. Like nobody is going to remember the actual product you're advertising. No. They're going to remember the message you were trying to send with it.
But there was the creepy dancing syringes.
Yes. Was that Colbert?
That was Colbert.
Wasn't that Bill Nye though?
No.
Bill Nye had a whole other thing that he did.
Sure.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Talking about like, I don't know, Hollywood, STDs or something.
Oh gosh.
Well, no wonder Hollywood is like they just made so much money off of COVID. Like they just renewed their COVID protocols for another year, or might be another 6 months
in California.
Good
luck to them.
So you're just like, there's too much money to be made. Like that lady who worked on Dahmer won't have a job if she doesn't have.
There was a production assistant on the Dahmer show on Netflix who complained that she was treated horribly on set and racially abused because they called her the same name as the other black production assistants on set.
They didn't know her,
even though there were hundreds of people there.
You know, prosopagnosia is a real
it's a serious
affliction.
Problem. That's fair.
Andy knows,
and you're representing that.
That's right.
But you've worked you've worked on productions. If you're a production assistant, you don't have a name.
No,
you have a name. You have less than a name. Your name is
you're like a number.
You there.
You.
That's your name.
Yeah.
You all have the same name. In fact, in solidarity,
your name is
Hey
Mocha
You.
Grande.
Yeah. Half calf. Yeah.
Your name is Hey You There.
Yeah.
So it's So she
was a production assistant
who was hired. Yeah. No, well she was.
I felt unseen.
She was actually the COVID-19 testing
protocol officer.
So she was required for sticking swabs into people's noses, and then wondered why nobody liked her.
I mean,
maybe they did the China method, and that's why nobody liked her.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Even worse.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.